Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a fascinating, maybe raw snapshot of daily life in Nigeria, straight from newspaper headlines of June 21st, 2025. Now, this isn't your typical news summary. Think of it more as a curated journey, right? Through the incredibly diverse issues capturing the nation's attention, trying to give you a rapid-fire understanding of some really complex realities.
Exactly. And I think what we'll see is how this collection of seemingly, disparate headlines actually paints a remarkably cohesive picture of Nigeria's current pulse. We're kind of using them as a lens to reveal these multi-layered challenges and developments, everything from local security stuff to national governance, even international ripple effects. So our mission here is really to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge, maybe some surprising insights from this unique set of sources.
Right. Let's jump right in with a theme that, well, unfortunately remains prominent, the persistent security landscape. It's pretty clear from these headlines that security challenges are a huge part of daily life across Nigeria. I mean, for instance, we see some grim reports like gunmen kill 19 in fresh plateau attacks, and then there's 8 die as gunmen attack Osun and Embra communities. Stark reminders, aren't they, of the immediate threats?
They really are. And if we look a bit deeper, what's kind of striking is this critical paradox these headlines present. You see visible, significant efforts by law enforcement, but the sheer volume of these attacks, it suggests a deeper, maybe a systemic security challenge. It goes beyond just isolated incidents. So, on one hand, you do have successes, like troops foil terrorists attempt to establish base in Katsina, Rescue 19, showing the military's engagement. That's positive. But then you also see local police actively tackling crime. Headlines like police arrest 44-year-old alleged hired killer in Lagos, and police arrest 210, seize drugs, weapons in Borno. Also, Ondo police arrest 17-year-old, one other with 51 bags of Indian hemp. And even this one, Kaduna security operatives nabbed 398 suspects in 9 days. That highlights some pretty significant efforts to bring suspects to justice.
That headline about the NYSC parents, though. Start posting our children to insecure states, parents tell FG. That really hits home, that human element. What does that particular concern tell us about the broader perception of security beyond the official reports?
Yeah, that's a key point. It really underscores that while there are these ongoing efforts to counter threats, public concern is still very high. And it's actually influencing personal decisions, right? Like where families feel safe sending their kids for national service. It reveals that this constant vigilance, navigating these varied local risks, is just a fundamental part of daily life for many Nigerians.
Okay, so moving from those immediate security concerns, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Shifting to governance, politics, policy. These headlines show Nigeria's political scene is just constantly in motion. We're seeing significant legislative stuff happening. For instance, Lagos, Kaduna, 10 other cities to host Rep zonal hearing on Constitution review. And also, NAS revives Constitution review, sets dates for public hearing. Ooh, what does this push for constitutional review signal about the nation's political evolution, would you say?
Well, it's interesting. This simultaneous push for reform and then the almost dismissive reaction to new political challenges. It highlights Nigeria's political scene as, well, one of both procedural evolution and intense power consolidation, often confrontational. You have established players like we see with Atiku, El-Rufai, Amaichi coalition seeks to register new party. They're quick to test the waters, but then existing powers, like Keyamo here, are just as quick to shut them down, calling the new party bid a pedestrian joke.
Right. And we also get insights into presidential priorities. Headlines like, I'm committed to governance, Tinubu, and Tinubu lauds Wike for transforming Abuja to a world-class city. It gives a glimpse into the administration's focus, its messaging, plus their support voiced for specific policies like Afenifere hails Tinubu's commitment to establishing state police.
Yeah.
But beyond the political statements, we're seeing these critical regulatory changes. SEC bans CEOs from becoming chairman without 3-year break, and SEC bars independent directors from becoming executive directors. What's the immediate implication of those kinds of SEC rules?
Oh, those are significant moves aimed squarely at corporate governance, oversight. They're intended to promote transparency, prevent conflicts of interest. Seems like a clear regulatory push for stronger ethical frameworks in the private sector. And then you've got the broader regional context, like ECOWAS must act on agreed resolutions, says Tugger. That points to Nigeria's big role in regional diplomacy stability. Oh, and that headline, FG's cash transfer to N Assembly hits N316BN. That gives a peek into financial flows within government. Significant allocations there.
Okay, so we've looked at security politics. Let's pivot now to the economic realities, the stuff that underpins daily life. These headlines reveal both those immediate financial pressures on people and also the government's pretty ambitious efforts in infrastructure. On one side, direct impacts on cost of living, like Dango refinery hikes, petrol ex-depot price to N880 liter, and farm-produced cost surges by 29% NBS. Ouch. These directly affect household budgets, don't they?
Absolutely. And what's compelling here, I think, is this constant balancing act between these immediate economic pressures people are feeling and these longer-term development goals. So while consumers are facing higher prices, you see concurrent efforts to strengthen essential sectors, like the push for energy infrastructure. GenCos must link to national grid system by December 31 NERC. That suggests a drive for better power supply. Eventually. And significant investment in agriculture, too. FG releases N60BN for agro-livestock industrial zone development. That's aimed at boosting food security.
Right. And we also see the government trying to boost revenue, tackle illegal stuff, like FIRS adopts a new model to drive voluntary tax compliance, and Navy impounds 20,000 liters of stolen crude oil in Delta.
Okay. But this focus on attracting foreign investment, things like Oberavory's China trip to boost investment, or the FCT woos global investors at London Summit, does that realistically address the immediate cost of living pressures we just talked about? For the average person? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
While those efforts are aimed at long-term growth, maybe job creation down the line, their immediate impact on today's price surges probably not felt directly. It's more of a strategic move, for future prosperity. And then you see direct action on infrastructure, like Umahi orders repairs on Lafima-Cordy Road after Tinubu's aborted Yelwada visit. That shows some responsive governance to immediate needs, flagged by, well, a high-level visit. So yeah, it's a snapshot of a nation striving for economic stability, growth, amid pretty big challenges, often playing the long game.
Okay, let's broaden out now. Look at some critical social challenges and maybe some unexpected developments that give us a deeper sense of the human experience. I mean, we're talking about large-scale humanitarian crises here. Flood. Over 5.2 meters affected, 1,237 lives lost in 35 states in 2024 NEMA. And 202 blames data gaps as Nigeria records 1,562 cholera cases. Those numbers are just immense.
They are. And it raises an important question, doesn't it? About the effectiveness, the scalability of various social support systems, and the urgent need for maybe innovation in tackling these widespread issues. Then you have these specific societal efforts like 1 million children rescued from streets under my watch, says Borno.gov. That highlights, concentrated efforts trying to address deep-rooted social problems.
And then you get those headlines that just make you pause, like the scandal. Convicted inmate caught processing passport, visa in Lagos. I mean, that's quite something, isn't it?
It certainly is. It leaves you wondering how, what kind of systemic loophole or oversight failure allows that. It really highlights unique challenges in enforcement, far from the typical headlines we usually see. On a different note, you see prominent figures getting involved, like Mary O'Dilly to chair NEAPS 2025 Advisory Committee, pointing to ongoing national initiatives, and these community-level discussions around resources and peace. Revive nomadic schools to stop clashes, Fulani leaders tell FG, and Massoub seeks justice for Enugu victims of herdsmen attacks, reflecting those complex social dynamics around land, resources.
Yeah. And it's not all just big problems either. There are specific local development initiatives happening too. Things like Plateau to introduce high-yield potato varieties. And 82,150 Nasarawa farmers receive Moringa albizia seedlings. These feel like vital steps, right, towards improving agriculture, food security at the grassroots. Okay, finally, let's touch on how international events can directly impact Nigeria, even in this local news snapshot, and maybe add some historical context. The global political stage clearly has a direct impact. We see headlines like Trump threatens Iran with imminent strikes, says Europe can't help, and Trump orders mass layoffs at Voice of America, other U.S.-funded media.
Right. And when we consider that broader context, it highlights how even seemingly distant global events can, well, directly resonate or provide unexpected context for current affairs here. The implications are direct for Nigerians abroad. We see court blocks deportation of Nigerian PhD student amid Trump's immigration crackdown, and the really heartbreaking Israel-Iran war. Stranded Nigerians cry for help from underground shelters. These aren't abstract geopolitical things. They have immediate human impacts.
Wow. Yeah. And speaking of history, this one jumped out at me. On this day in 1945, over 150,000 staff in the Nigerian civil service initiated a general strike for salary increases to offset the rising cost of living. What's fascinating is how that echoes some of the economic pressures we were just discussing, like the surging cost of farm produce today.
Absolutely. That historical parallel is really striking. It shows these challenges, inflation, cost of living. They aren't exactly new to Nigeria, are they? On a different historical note, on this day in 1895, the Kiel Canal was opened. Oh, Germany connects the North Sea, Baltic Sea, one of the world's busiest artificial waterways. Kind of a testament to human ingenuity, its impact on global commerce.
Yeah.
Shows that long arc of infrastructure development.
And maybe to tie it all together, there's this quote from John Locke: "Don't let the things you don't have prevent you from using what you do have."
That sentiment, while philosophical, I think it resonates quite profoundly with the resilience, the adaptive strategies we see in so many of these headlines.
Yeah.
Whether it's local communities finding ways to improve food security or individuals navigating these global challenges, there's this persistent drive, isn't there, to make the most of available resources.
So what does this all mean then? Our deep dive into just a single day's Nigerian headlines. It reveals a vibrant, complex, and incredibly resilient nation, grappling with such diverse challenges, from security concerns and dynamic politics to economic pressures, infrastructure efforts, social reforms. Nigeria is navigating it all, often while feeling those ripples from global events too. These concentrated insights really show the value, I think, of looking beyond just the front page, connecting the dots.
Yeah, it reinforces that idea that looking at a daily snapshot like this, it helps us appreciate how interconnected things are. And it fosters critical thinking, maybe, about the information we consume every day. It shows that even amid major issues, life goes on, and those seemingly small details or historical echoes, they can give truly unique perspectives on the national pulse.
So, something to think about. Consider how these headlines, seemingly about just one country, Nigeria, actually reflect pretty universal challenges. Governance, human well-being, societal adaptation, stuff that resonates across the globe. What might a single day's headlines from your region reveal if you looked at them through this kind of comprehensive lens? What hidden connections might you uncover?